Hello, this is Adrian from Jaskiran Astrology, and I am here today to talk about today's full moon in Taurus. Now, the full moon happened at 8:18 this morning, Eastern Time, and at the time of this recording, it's been a little bit more than an hour and a half ago, but I did want to come on and talk about these energies because they're really big. This is a super moon, which means the moon is very close to the Earth. The moon represents our identity, our self-identity. And so we are expecting this big energy within ourselves. And yeah, it's it's pretty large. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the chart. Oops, I have something outlined already. Here's the chart. Okay, so the sun and the moon oppose each other. At 13 degrees, 22 minutes of Taurus is the moon, and the sun the same degree at Scorpio. And so these are in opposition. Oppositions are integration. This is where we're integrating things into ourselves. Um, and as you know, we've been through Libra, uh, both a new moon and a full moon at this time. And we've been integrating how we relate to ourselves. And so now we have the moon in Taurus, where we are integrating the shadow parts of ourselves. The sun is shining on the shadow. Now, if you remember, for the last couple of weeks, um, Mars and Mercury have been traversing through Scorpio, and they are now in Sagittarius, and we'll talk about that. But through their journey through, we've been digging up some of the dark stuff that hides within our psyche. We've all been doing it. I know for myself, some things have come up, and it's interesting because they are things that I've sort of been subtly aware of, but I keep them pushed down. I hadn't even really recognized. But the way life folds, these things are coming to the surface. So these shadow parts of us are parts that we have kept down either because they were shamed out of us as children, or we saw something happen to somebody as we got older and we decided, oh, we didn't want that to happen to us. So we pushed these things down in ourselves. So um, the thing about the shadow is that generally it's because of our cultural beliefs and truths that the shadow gets pushed down. Scorpio is the energy of those things that are hidden, often taboo things. And so we all carry them. And it's an interesting thing that Richard Rudd from the Gene Keys talks about the gift being within the shadow. And so embracing the shadow will eventually bring out what the gifts are. And so this moon is about incorporating and embracing the shadow. And the next moon coming up will be the new moon in Scorpio. So it'll be a very different kind of an energy as we embrace. But right now, we're incorporating it into ourselves. So the moon is in Taurus. This is the energy of survival. This is the energy of um, what we need to survive. So it's talking about our needs. And it's also talking about what we value. Particularly when the moon is there, we're talking about our self-value. So you can imagine that as the sun is pointing at the shadow that has been lifted up through Mars and Mercury's traverse, that we are incorporating this into ourselves and learning to value ourselves. Now, the opposition is like a swinging back and forth between the extremes, right? Whenever we're dealing with Libra archetypes or the extremes, we it's like a pendulum that swings back and forth until it ends up at the center. It's like the opposition of hot and cold. The center is warm. And this energy of bringing up the shadow and feeling secure and safe within our values of who we are this energy that's swinging back and forth. And eventually, we're going to merge these two things together where we'll accept the shadow parts of who we are and we'll feel secure inside of ourselves. And this is what this energy is bringing to us. So if you remember the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about how after the eclipse that happened at the 29th degree of Virgo shifted the order of the way the moons show up for us, where it's been a new moon, we get a new energy, and then it ends up in a full energy a couple of weeks later so that we can get the completion. But that shifted during the eclipse. And I've been contemplating why that is. And one of the things that I've come up with is that really we are completing the energy of something that started a long time ago. And so, in fact, the new moon in Taurus began, uh, was in April, the end of April last year, earlier this year. Um, while Pluto, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, the Pluto and Venus were together um, in Aquarius, where we were breaking free of a value system to begin to value ourselves differently. And now we're at this full moon, and we are really completing that by bringing up the deep dark, things that we've been hiding, and really embracing what we are and who we are, and really becoming whole. Um, and so I feel like this energy, and I've called this moon report the metamorphosis, because Scorpio is about metamorphosis. It's about change, and it's about embodying our independence, who we are. Um, let's see. So, yeah, we're incorporating this to become completely independent with ourselves. Now, this doesn't mean that we're not going to be relating with the external world. What this means is we're going to be having healthier relationships. Now, let's look at Venus. Venus is ruling this moon, and Venus is in Libra. In with this energy, and as I talked about a couple of weeks ago, this is about valuing ourselves within the relationship. And now that Venus is sitting exactly where the new moon in Libra was sitting 2 weeks ago. We're sitting in the exact same position. We're coming and we were beginning a new way of relating with ourselves. And now Venus is sitting there and we're really looking at valuing ourselves within the relationship, finding a balance and a quality. And relationships, I'm talking about, I mean, it can be relationships with people, family, friends, whatever, but it's the relationship we have to anything that's outside of ourselves, the external world. And the external world is changing, and therefore the relationship to ourselves is changing. And so, as we incorporate the shadow parts of ourselves, we are really completing this energy of embracing our independence within these relationships. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was how a healthy relationship looks. Now, we've we've been living in an energy of codependence. We are codependent on our culture. We've are the way that we've been living for, I mean, maybe eons, a long time. We've been placing our needs on the external environment. So we have grocery stores. We used to grow our food, or even before that, we were all hunter and gatherers, and the earth provided food for us. But then now we are reliant on the external to get our needs met. And this has caused us to be disempowered. Um, I don't like to talk about politics on my um, channel, but even right now, as we have this government shutdown and the food stamps are being, there are people that are going without food because of the reliance on the external. And so there's this energy of self-reliance that is coming back into play. Self-reliance now doesn't mean that we are all growing our own food. Self-reliance means that we have esteem because we hold on to something, we have the ability to meet our own needs. Not all of the needs are met because this would be the energy of Libra and of Scorpio, where we would merge with other people to get those needs met that we couldn't meet within ourselves. But it would be an equality kind of energy where, okay, I will share the food that I'm growing and you can share your, tractor needs, or I'm talking farm stuff here because that's what I do. But we would share. For example, I had somebody rebuild our back porch, and in trade, I gave this person food for the entire season um, that came out of the gardens. So, this is the kind of energy of being self sufficient in something and having something that uh, can empower us with another. So this is this new energy. Now I'm going to click on the Venus. You can see there's a powerful yod energy here. And these yods are inconjuncts, and the inconjuncts are really trying to change us. They are energies of analysis, self-analysis, what it is happening from within me that needs to change, and then a transformation, an adjustment in our behavior. And there are two kinds of yods. There's the Virgo kind, which requires an inner adjustment. Oh, I'm not looking at this in the right way. Let me change the way that I'm looking at it, and then change my behavior from that. Or the Scorpio side is where I have created this powerful sense of self and I'm putting it into the environment. And, you just can't run roughshod over somebody. And if there is an interaction that is tense and full of crisis, then we have to adjust the way we're behaving in the external world. So these are the two kinds of inconjuncts that happen. Basically, what this is saying is as we become self sufficient in ourselves and begin to value ourselves, we are going to experience some crises. Things will come up because we're going to be making changes. So, one of the things that's happening is Uranus is retrograde. Uranus very shortly will move into Taurus, which is the sign for Venus rules. So it's really completing its traversing, its pass through Gemini, where we have been fracturing our perspective of reality, and things are changing outside of us, and the way that we perceive reality is shifting. And so that way that we are shifting our reality is causing this is the Virgo type of inconjunct, is causing us to feel crisis because we have to really begin to take um, charge of our needs. And the shift in perspective, we haven't had to do that. So that's part of what's happening. And on this side, this is the Scorpio side. Now we have to change what we're doing in the outer world because what's happening here since Neptune has moved back into Pisces is we are going back, we're getting another look at the dissolving of all the structures that have come before. This is the external structures, the internal structures, everything that has come before that is no longer useful for our growth is dissolving. And when you're dissolving, we're sitting in this void. It's like we haven't really created any structures yet. We have dreams and visions about what we'd like to do and how we'd like to experience our future, but they haven't really solidified yet. And that won't really begin to happen until these two become conjunct in at the uh, Aries point, the 0 degrees Aries, which will happen in February 20th of this coming year. And so just a few months away, really. But we're at the end of like dissolving these old structures. And so in this dissolving of these old structures, we're having our empowerment, our getting our needs met, is causing a crisis because what was there isn't there. And so we're having to adjust the way we're dealing with the external world. Let me take that Venus off. So Venus is also here. I'm going to put it back on because Venus is also square to these two planets. It's a third quarter square to Taurus. I mean, sorry, to Pluto. Pluto in Aquarius is asking us to confront our individuality, to merge with it, and to transmute who we are. And Venus is saying, okay, I'm going to value who I am. I'm going to accept my values, and I'm going to value myself equally in all relationships between the external world, between my friends, my partners, my children, etc. We're going to value ourselves, which means equal time will be spent on ourselves as we do in the external world, is how I interpret that. That we have to make sure that we are doing our self-care and our needs, and the external world can wait. We'll have a conversation, but the conversation will always include our needs. We aren't going to push our needs aside anymore to satisfy the external. And so this third quarter square it's called a crisis in consciousness square, which is where we break free from the beliefs of the society, which is to be codependent on the external. We break free from that to create our individuality. And this is a first quarter square where we have with Jupiter, and Jupiter in Cancer is really expanding our inner truth, our identity of who we are. And so this first quarter square is really saying that we have to make changes. We have to choose to do something different to expand this inner growth. And that what is being chosen and the direction that the universe is pointing us to is to standing in our own value structure and in our own self-importance and our own ability to be ourselves and to meet our own needs. Yeah, so this is the energy. Now, I'm just going to, while we're at Venus, I might as well finish talking about all the alignments that are with Venus. We have this, we call it the boomerang point, the opposition between Chiron retrograde and Venus. And Chiron retrograde is accelerating the ability for us to be our true selves. So Chiron represents a wound that is really collective. We have all been self-sacrificing so that we could fit into the societal norms. That is over. Where Pluto and Aquarius is like, no, we're not doing that anymore. We are individuating. We are becoming our true selves. And for those of us that don't even know what that is, who that is, part of this moon is integrating the shadow parts of ourselves that we've kept in the past. But we're in the process of becoming our true selves. And it's not an easy process. It's this we're having to integrate from pairs of opposites, these opposites and these opposites, the Chiron Venus. All right, so we have a lot of opposites going on in this chart. So we're integrating the expansion of our own truth, the expansion of our inner sense of self and how we feel secure in ourselves. And what we're saying is, to feel secure in ourselves, we really have to take responsibility for our own needs and to make sure that our needs are met when we're dealing with the external world. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Let's just talk about the nodes. I didn't really talk about it in my written report, but this south node is in Virgo, and I have talked about this because we did have the eclipse on the Virgo Pisces axis. And the south node is about breaking out of this not feeling good enough. And I've talked about this before, about it relating to a hierarchy of human beings. If we look outside of ourselves and view the reality from what it would appear like, which we can't possibly know, but we've done it anyway. We've created this place in our minds where we look at the outside world and we determine what somebody else is thinking, what the external is thinking, and then we adjust ourselves to fit into that mold. And during the eclipse and these times now, we are really beginning to come from the inside. This is what Chiron in Aries is saying. We are letting the external world um, not guide who we are. And it's an interesting thing because the external world is changing. There is nobody that can deny that at this point. It's dissolving, things are shifting, and it will become anew. But in that energy, we are having to really take back our true selves, because the collective is really a culmination, it's the collective of all the individuals. And so it's not the collective that will change, it is the individuals that will change, and then we will come together and create change together. That's how change happens. So let's see, we're going to talk about this conjunction right here between Mars and Mercury. And so, like I said earlier, Mars and Mercury have recently traversed through Scorpio, digging up the dirt and allowing us to see it. And now we have moved into the expansion part of it. And so it's it's really Mercury is trine right now. Whoops, no, it's Mars that's trine with Jupiter. So we're going to be able to act in a new way toward this expansion of self. Um, and through our own truth, really. Mercury aligned in Sagittarius is like, these are opposition energies within themselves, right? While Sagittarius is opposite Gemini. Gemini rules both Mercury rules both Gemini and Virgo. And it's about how we interpret reality. It's about how we see reality. It's about gathering information from our environment and determining um, what the truth is. Sag. So Sagittarius is the energy of like natural law and ultimately freedom. And this is what's happening. We've gone through the darkness, and dug up what needs to be looked at and embraced and changed. And now we're beginning to get to the gift of that, which is freedom. Freedom, it's like a release of the tension that's been hiding underneath the surface. Um, we all carry some of it, and it goes, for some people, I imagine it's more intense than others, but it goes underneath the surface of our consciousness. And now we are moving beyond that as Mercury and Mars move through Sagittarius. They are sextile. This moving beyond is going to help us um, to become our true selves. And this is the energy that where we can very easily right now step into this true self energy. So as I've said before, when we're dealing with Pluto, what we're dealing with is a transmutation. I got my dragonfly earrings on today. Richard Rudd also talks about the dragonfly being the symbol because the symbol of metamorphosis, of transmutation, where the energy of a um, caterpillar turning into the butterfly. The caterpillar is liquefying down and something new will be birthed. This energy right here is the what is coming next. So we're kind of in the cocoon here with this Neptune Saturn energy. We're able to crystallize and seed what we want our future to look like. And as you can see, there's a trine between these energies. So as we move our consciousness and our actions, we have the ability to seed what it is that we want to see for ourselves in the future. We have the ability to create our future. And so, and that's going to take this integration with Uranus to break free from the mental construct that we have been living under. And one of the things that I've been noting is that in the society we have now, the external world really has been telling us what the construct is. And that, I think, is beginning to change because of this energy. We are going beyond, we're integrating this dissolving of the external construct and actually stepping into a reality and a truth that is something that we're experiencing. We're experiencing different changes from within. And so this aligns our consciousness with this expansion. And like I said, it's very much linked to the Jupiter and it's linked to this Neptune Saturn retrograde in Pisces, where we're dissolving the old, our minds and our actions are beginning to align to what's happening for ourselves in the future, and we're expanding who we are. We are powerful, powerful beings, and we have been in a learning phase for a period of time, and now that school, the Earth school, is over, and we're about to graduate into something new. So that is how I see this. It's all about becoming self-sufficient. I started to say this earlier. In case I didn't say it, I do want to talk about the way we relate between ourselves and the external world. And we've got this codependency, which has been pervading our cultures. It happens through our intimate relationships and through the relationship that we have with our families, with our, teachers, our jobs, and the external world just in general. And what this does is really take our power away. Independence is when we can meet our own needs. And then interdependence is this energy where two independent people come together and share. And that is the goal of humanity coming up. This is, as I was first starting to learn about the Aquarian archetype, it was described to me as like the superheroes, the group of superheroes. They've got, the Wonder Twins and all the different types, and each one of those entities are powerful entities within themselves. But when they come together, they are an unstoppable force. And that is where we are headed. This metamorphosis is that we are becoming our superpowers and we will merge with other superpowers and then we'll be unstoppable. So that's what I have to say about this full moon. This is the moon that really brings in our ability to be independent. And over the next 2 weeks, we're going to be watching how that happens. So notice how it's feeling in your body. Do the things for yourself that empower you. Um, get your needs met. Whatever, however you have to do that, get your needs met. And if you need help, ask for it. So yeah, I think that's all that I want to say about this moon today. And I want to thank you all for listening. And I hope that what I've had to say is helpful and empowering to you. Um, Please check out my Substack account because I write a very extensive, every alignment I look at and then put together the energy that I see that's happening. I will link it in the comments below. Please subscribe. Um, and then also, if you're interested in seeing how these energies are working for you and just need a little help identifying how it aligns with your natal chart, please reach out to me. Um, JazzKarenAstrology.com. I will link that also in the comments below. And I really want to thank you all and happy full moon in Taurus. Bye now.